Welcome to Once Upon a Quantum Leap. My name is Paul Madar, and as usual, you are.
Capucine still have not changed the name.
You're still here. You came back for a ninth episode.
Still came back.
Okay, that's awesome.
I know
Well,
it's
we're
exciting.
kind of wrapping up this first season, so we're going to talk about ourselves. We've talked about other people this whole time, and other people's reports, and we got this crazy idea.
Don't turn it
What?
off just because we're talking about ourselves. People are saying, "Oh, boring." I don't want to hear this one.
Now we're going to reveal some of our journeys and transformations and pivotal reports, intuitive reports that really changed our trajectories in our lives and opened our eyes and what we did with that. So stay tuned. Let's talk about pivotal reports that really made an impact in
Yeah,
our lives.
yeah. Let's talk about it. I'm not sure exactly
Okay.
where to start, but
I think at a very high level, we can start way up at the top and then sort of work out the details or start talking about the
okay.
details.
What's the top? What's the starting at the
Well,
top?
like for me,
Yeah.
when I was going over, I dug out a lot of reports because I've had um, probably 20 something reports at this point. And so many of them for me revolved around this theme of observing objectively.
Mm.
Like I would have a lifetime where I was an observer and I would make comments about people, places, things, or I would observe sound, or I would observe nature. But there was always this theme for me of observing and then commenting about these observations. So I thought, all right, let's go with that. That's like a soul edict, I think, for me, is to do that. And there were some lifetimes where I didn't quite get it very well. And then others where, yeah, cool, put that piece of the puzzle together. Let's go on to the next step.
Was
What
there
about
one?
you?
Was there
What were
one?
some of your
Well,
themes?
well, there are themes, but before we go into my themes, Paul, I want to ask you a question about.
Oh no, here comes
Um,
detail. Oh
here's
no.
yeah, I know. Please give me some more details
Good.
about at least maybe a lifetime, a report that you received that
Hmm.
resonates a lot with what you just said.
Okay, so there was one report that I had. I was a monk, probably a Buddhist monk, I'm thinking. And and but before I was a monk, I was this little kid and I was very quiet and I was known to be very keen observer of things going on. And a person overheard me making little comments like under my breath off to the side, but very keen observations of what was going on. And sometimes it was about the authorities in the area, about the ruling classes, about just about people and things, but very keen observations. And so he thought, we got to train this kid. So they moved me to a monastery and with particular directions to teach me everything you possibly can. And I spent a lifetime in this monastery learning absolutely everything that the the monks could teach me to the point where they eventually said, we're kind of done, so you need to go now. You need to go out into the world and give your observational powers a test and also your commentary a test. And so I went out into the villages and I would live with families that were either in chaos or distress or grieving or um, fighting with each other. And I would live with them and observe and observe and observe and then comment and guide and help them to some kind of harmonious resolution with gratitude and forgiveness as the um, primary things that I would offer.
Mm. Mm.
And then I would go back to the monastery periodically and stay in a period of silence for a while and kind of rejuvenate myself and get ready for the next round of going out into the world and observing and commenting and guiding. So
Well,
that when I got that
yeah.
report, that changed everything for me.
Well,
It it validated um, it validated that I wasn't shy and that I wasn't like chronically reticent or hesitant about speaking. It validated that I was selective about what I said and very selective about why I would say particular things. And that made me value myself considerably more. I realized that I really do have good things to say and important things to say. And it really does require me to observe and watch for a little while to formulate something, um, a nugget of truth or something that I could lay on people.
Paul,
And
I've not heard this lifetime that you just said until today.
yeah,
And so what we've known each other for going on 30 years, something like that. I mean, the first time
hmm
I met you,
yeah,
God, saying that out loud is, well, anyway.
yeah, really,
I remember the first time meeting you and then being around you, for that initial time period. That's exactly how I would describe you. I
Hmm.
just remember having this impression of you that was there's Paul. He's he's there. He's in the building, but
Yeah,
he's not saying much. But boy, is he watching, he's
he's really
listening,
paying attention.
observing.
Yeah,
He's like your presence was made
yeah,
without it being very loud, very vocal, none of that stuff.
huh.
And the other part of it and this is why I remember you, which I was always very dear to me. I just loved your sense of humor. You had sometimes a snarky remark or a very,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
like a pingy thing to say.
yeah.
And I thought, there's something rolling around in that little noggin of his
hmm hmm
that's pretty valuable. And that was my initial impression of,
Wow. Cool. Yeah.
yeah,
That
years
has been a
ago.
running theme for a
Yeah.
dozen lifetimes that I've had
Yeah.
identified here. Yeah.
And it still holds true, obviously, to who you are now. I would just say, if I had to add anything to that, is that you've just fine tuned that.
hmm
And I think that's another ongoing thread with these receiving these past lives and integrating them into our lives, my life personally. There's a fine tuning, like there's an acceleration, and then there's sometimes just a slow movement. But either way, there's always movement.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that quality that you just described, it's it has a higher frequency of flavor to it.
Yeah.
Uh,
When I look at the progression of past lives, like if I put them in chronological order, I don't really believe in time that much anymore. But if I put them in chronological order, um, I can see a progression, like a development of
mhm,
being clumsy with observation and getting distracted with my observation to getting more solid with it, with putting speaking into the mix as well, like actually commenting on what I've been observing.
mhm,
That's another lifetime that I put that. So it's been this building process of this dharma of being
mhm,
able to observe and comment and guide um, in my environment.
mm.
Yeah. All right. It's your turn.
Okay. Where
Okay.
do Well, you said start high.
hmm
Let's see if I should start there. Let me just tell you what my process was in preparing for this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I did, as you did, we looked through, highlighted some key things in all of the reports, whether they be a health analysis, a past life crossing, creative mind reports, Atlantean reports, healing and wholeness
Dharma
reports,
reports and yeah.
Dharma reports. Yeah, I so scanned all of those, and then what I did was you know, skimmed on up and brought some themes of all of those together. And the whole time I was doing that, I was reliving my life.
Mm,
And then I decided to go ahead and write out little markers of my time living on this earth that were significant. And I thought, this is what was occurring with me during that time. And then here's how I did a really another what I call a spiritual growth spurt during this time.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
where I was stuck and why I was stuck at
Yeah.
certain time periods. So it just helped me go pinging back and forth into lifetimes versus present lifetime.
Hmm.
And a couple of reports stand out for me. But like I'll start off with one that was tr- and all of these I think resonate with truth, but one that I decided to highlight was in service of this session that we're doing right now, this episode that we're doing, is to let people know that all reports will always give you exactly where you are and what you need. And one of them was where I was, it says like this one is defensive. This one, yeah, I mean, it was just laying it all out there.
Hmm.
Like this one's having a tough time listening. If only this one could value who this one is. There's no need to have to defend who you are. And then it's your responsibility to make decisions about what really matters to you and then go forward. So it was really good to go back and see, just to review this lifetime, my lifetime, and all of the choices I made, the life experiences I had, the experiences I had even as a young child that
Hmm.
for myself, I can think back and it's like, oh, those were definitely experiences that had to do with other realms and other interests, but no one in my childhood could explain those things to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll do a couple of pingings of different reports. So one was a health analysis that I received, and the mental attitude of things that were causing some disturbance were that I, in infancy of this lifetime, had developed the quality of hesitancy. And
Hmm.
it started in infancy. So just imagine as a little teeny tiny baby that you could hold, cradle,
Yeah.
a thought pattern of hesitancy. And that occurred because I was misinterpreting giving and caring. So I was misinterpreting those energies and also looking for that. So
Hmm.
because I was misinterpreting those, there was a hesitant response in me. And that kind of started the thread in this lifetime of, of highly evolved thinking and reasoning skills. Like I'd started to make
Oh,
meaning out of
okay.
what the heck is that?
So in
So
response to the hesitancy, you sort of
that's
went the
right.
other direction of
That's
I'm going
right.
to analyze and
I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to
analyze, I'm going to
reason and
reason this out.
yeah.
But and again, I think this goes into our future episodes that we will do to talk about parenting and childhood
Hmm.
and how all of how our consciousness evolves and develops within family dynamics and other people around that. But that one was really significant to me because I thought, I don't know, it just opened another avenue for me of wow, because sometimes the overthinking or the high skill of reasoning and thinking can also be a distraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could also get in my
You can get
way.
trapped in it as well. Yeah.
Totally go into a little circle cycle.
Yeah.
And then as I progress in my current life, I have received different reports that showed how I actually was still stuck in that realm
Hmm.
of the conscious ego overtaking everything in terms of this is my identity. Of course I know these things, or
Hmm.
I'm right, you're wrong. I've got to prove my point here. It took that iteration. And then
Yeah.
again, reports that suggested things that I really, the thing that's getting in the way there is just that you just have to really know who you are at the core and decide on how you want to manifest that, as opposed to defending certain things that I needed to prove that I could do or not do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
then go ahead.
well, I was just going to ask you, it, it, I've been researching more and more about metacognition and cognitive science, and it's that idea of your ability to become aware of your thinking process and the efficiencies or deficiencies in your thinking process from that sort of eye in the sky looking down at it. And it sounds like you were because of your upbringing or because of the childhood experiences, you vaulted up into that eye in the sky perspective and were able to operate on your thinking processes and change and guide your thinking process
Oh,
rather than getting mired in them.
right.
You rise up and can look like down on them. That's a huge development and a skill
Very
that
good.
that
Very good.
everyone, really needs to get to.
Yeah, and actually, and it's in um reports moving forward, it would say that in other words, it would say this one is just has developed this skill like really well, like really, really well.
Hmm.
Um, Now it's time to use it in a different way. But no, it did. Again, I'm really trying to share part of my experiences that all of us have a lifetime of experiences.
Hmm.
Good, bad, indifferent, yucky, happy, joyous, times we want to forget, relationships we wish we never really had, but we did, and
Yeah.
pains, sorrows, deaths. I mean, all of it. And
Yeah.
whatever emotions that bring up and how one experiences those either elevates above them or stays mired in those.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I, in my who I am, as well as it indicated this in my reports, I always responded to an inner urge. And that inner urge was to constantly develop this devotional practice of the origins and the mysteries of creation and
Hmm.
creator. And so that was always the undercurrent, really, the theme in most of all of my reports.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
the creating, the creative process, the desire to give and share, and sometimes hesitating in giving and sharing that insight that I had. Um, yeah, love, healing, those were strong currents that would ebb and flow throughout my
Yeah, I
life.
remember you've talked about several lifetimes where um, you were known as a compassionate person or a compassionate healer or the warmth and the love in the community that surrounded you and you were part of that fabric. Mine didn't have those so much.
You did. Paul, that's why
No,
you need me in
no,
your
they
life.
did not.
That's why you need me in your life, Paul.
Mine were more like he was a monk and he was silent, and then he was a Japanese acrobat, and he was pretty quiet. And then he was this Egyptian priest, and yeah, he was pretty quiet in that one too. Nothing about love or
No,
warmth or yeah,
no. No,
yeah.
there was one cool one that I had, which was a past life crossing with a dear friend of mine. You also know her. And this was in Australia, 3000 BC. We both lived over 100 years ago. We were both female, and we were part of a long, long, long Aboriginal lineage.
40,000 years. Yeah.
Invested in storytelling, and we both held that as a very honorable thing that we needed to do.
Hmm.
Her role in that life was to go out into the world and tell the stories, the oral
Hmm.
stories. My role was I led an internal life. So similar to you, I was like the hermit. It's like my body was not dense because I had the capacity to move into the inner levels, and that's where I felt the most at ease.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that one was also built on love and healing and friendship. And a couple of I think it was three different lifetimes. This one in particular, when she had passed, she stayed with me at the emotional level. And we both had this place where we would go to mentally called a clear pond, where both of us could visit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as I was getting ready to withdraw from my body, then I took that as an opportunity to pay attention to every little stage of the transitioning of death.
Hmm.
And that I don't know, that just resonated so well with me, especially since yeah, in more recent times it came in handy, especially since I was part of my uncle's life as he was passing, 92 years old. And I remember just caring for him as he transitioned through all of those different stages. But
Yeah.
I,
I think overall yeah, if you examine death in another lifetime, the understanding of the transitions, they stick with you
Mm-hmm.
into this lifetime, and it just changes your perspective on this whole journey of life and death. And you,
Well, you started to say at the beginning of the episode, sorry for the interruption, but
mhm,
please remember what you're going to say, but I wanted to remind you that you started off by saying how we've also transformed any levels of transformation.
right,
And
right,
again, I think I'm bringing up this instance and another instance about death, because there were others where it's like I purposely chose to leave, to die.
right.
Right. So I have some understandings in that area. And I do think that those have carried over in regular change and transformation.
Yeah. I
Not
think that it helps us be a little bit more at ease with transformations in life, and also with transitions like death,
mm-hmm.
just in general. And I think also having, 12 or 15 past life profiles and crossings that I've had, it gives me this perspective of I've been here so many times and I've done so much on this planet, and this is just one more of these lifetimes. And just not to get so bunched up about I gotta get it right this lifetime, or I gotta, be completely successful in this lifetime, or go for the crazy pinnacle of this and that and the other thing in this lifetime. No, there's more lifetimes coming up. There can be an element of complacency, I think, that can creep in
Right.
uh with buying into the reincarnation theme. Where you say, well, nah, I'll do it in my next lifetime. And, some whole societies had that issue too for a little while. They would just put it off to the next lifetime, put it off to the next lifetime. No, the ideal is really to do the best with whatever you're presented in the present moment at any given time. And then that sort of ushers in the next present moment, and it ushers in the next present moment, and attracts a whole different kind of series of experiences for you. When you present your best, you give your best, you show up,
Yeah.
you do your thing.
Well, I think the term has been used before in different reports called divine timing.
Yeah, there
And
you go.
and I've learned to call that like it's a courtship. It's a courtship that this urge or this desire that's pretty strong. I want to do this. I've got to do this, or I'm not where I need to be right now.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Whatever. But there's this, if there's really something solid about that that has a potential enduring quality or characteristic to it,
Yeah.
that divine timing does come into play.
It helps you get that well, that far perspective, or the um
And helps
farsightedness, I
and
would say.
helps not to be mired in the out of the present moment. So you're not mired in I got to do, I have to, why not tomorrow? It that divine timing for me is another way to say it's so important to be in the present moment and just to trust and to be with, keep doing your job, keep doing your work. I mean, for me, that's the
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita, the duty of work. It's you do what's in front of you right now. And then when you're ready to do the next thing, that'll come in front of you when it needs to.
Yeah, and just trust that one thing will lead to another, to
One
another,
thing
to
will
another,
lead.
and there will be this divine link of all of these experiences, because you are a divine being. So therefore,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a divine link,
Yeah.
all natural. I think another theme that I discovered in my reports, pretty early on, was my investigation of emotions. And there again, it was the observer of the emotions. And
Mm.
I would observe them early on. I think there was more, in my health analyses, especially, there was more suggestions about, okay, don't just observe them and judge them, participate in the emotions as well. Like, feel, for God's sake, man, feel.
I could see someone
Because
slapping you
I would
across the
keep,
face. Snap
yeah,
out of it.
come on, dude. But I would hold emotions at bay and look at them and watch what they do, and and look at other people's emotions and observe that, but not quite allowing myself to feel and be in a feeling, because I didn't trust them. I didn't trust emotional energy. I thought I'd lose control or I'd never get control back or I'd be swept away by this current of emotion. And because I saw other people swept away by emotions. And it's just very slowly, steadily, with drip after drip of health analyses, I started making peace with emotions and emotional experience and realizing, yeah, they are pretty darn important for creation and they are also temporary. They
Do you have
come and they
do
go.
you have an experience that says, wow, this one's a
A lot
breakthrough
of
for me?
them.
Well, give me one. Give me one.
Well, let's see.
Please, please share, Paul.
Well, as you probably know, we had our Christine and I, mm, just after we were married, we had a stillbirth a little ways into our marriage, and it was in the ninth month,
Mm.
and it was this little guy was just about to be born, and I sort of get hot in the face when I start talking about this, but I'll keep talking. See, there's the emotions coming up again.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but we were all set to go and all ready for this. We were in the right place at the right time, and it didn't work out. And there was a lot of emotion around that event, a lot of grief and a lot of sorrow and shock and betrayal and wondering what went wrong and blame and the works, everything. So it was like this soup of emotion that was around me and in me and work going through me. And I think I really held on to that idea of this is going to be temporary. The emotion part of this is temporary,
Oh,
and I was
right.
looking for anchors of truth and looking for anchors of good that will come out of this. And how can we navigate this? Because I also needed to manage other people's, or I felt like I needed to manage other people's emotions as well. So I learned a lot from that gushing tsunami of emotion, and I lived through it. And
Hmm.
I can still visit that time and that event and those memories and still feel emotion, but I know that when I step out of that memory, the emotion subsides, that tide subsides again. So I've gotten a lot better with being able to wade in to an emotional river or an emotional ocean, knowing that I can step out of it
Mm.
afterwards and kind of shake things off and dry off afterwards.
Paul, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that was a crucial point in
That
my life,
was.
I think. And it also prepared me to be a better father
Hmm.
because, you're always going to be surrounded by emotional kids and people having tantrums or, disappointments or whatever comes up, and just knowing, okay, this is temporary. I can step out of this and I can make it through this as well.
No, and as you're saying that, even in our interactions, especially since we've been doing this podcast, you do have this stability of the emotions. And it's not it's similar to water. It's like you just allow this movement to go in and out, but yet it's still stable at the same time.
Yeah, you can tell the
Mhm.
water analogy and
Yeah.
metaphor that I use to describe
Hmm.
my experience of
Hmm.
emotions flowing in and out
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
through. And yeah,
Yeah, you
took
do that very well.
a lifetime of practice of that and a lot of intuitive reports
Hmm.
saying the same thing. Man, you just go ahead. You don't worry about emotions. They will come and they will go. Just get in, jump in.
Yeah, I had a suggestion about the emotions that I did. I had the capacity to use the emotions really well. And
Hmm.
then the suggestion was to continue to do that, especially with a lot more clarity and awareness. And so the way I have practiced that um, is I'm able to, it's almost, it's like I'm harnessing the emotion and then I'm trusting the words that will follow so that it lands. And
Yeah.
because I'm not a erratic emotional I really don't do that.
Yeah. You've got that
I
reasoning behind the emotions. It's
there you
mixed
go.
inside of it. Yeah.
Paul, there you
Yeah.
go. That's how it
See?
works.
Yeah, we snap these things together. We
We
put them,
do.
put pieces together.
Okay, so here's my question for you, because I know we do have a lot of other shared reports. I do have some that I want to share too, but
Yeah.
why do you, Paul? Why did you gravitate towards these intuitive reports? And what
Hmm.
made you stay with them? Now, before you answer that, I know some folks that have received intuitive reports and it's like, I'm not going to stay with it.
Hmm.
I'm not, when I say stay, continue to use them
Yeah. Oh
as a
yeah.
resource.
Yeah. I've known a lot of people that would get a health analysis and they just seemingly never really referred back to it or used it or a past life profile or a crossing where you go, huh, oh, well, look at that. Okay, well, what's for breakfast? They'll just turn and leave it. And yeah, that's a good question. Why did this stick with me? I think part of it is the ramp up to discovering intuitive reports for me. I had a lot of good things in place in order to both receive them and believe them and use them. Just from my upbringing, my background, uh, dharma and karma and lifetimes. So I had the foundation laid to be able to receive and use them, I think. And I wanted to. I had already found Edgar Casey's reports and some other sources of intuitive information, and I already believed in that. And then I came across this source of intuitive knowledge, and I thought, "Yep, that's for me. I'm ready. Let's go with this."
Mhm.
So I was primed and ready for it.
Mm,
And I
mm,
think the other reason is I just I had some good guidance in the beginning of how to use them, like step by step. Pick something that is both uncomfortable that you want to play with and work with and try out in your life, and then also pick something that's um, like a pat on the back in the
mhm.
report
Right.
and give yourself a little credit for some good work that you've also done. So you're not, constantly beating yourself up about the bad things in the report, the seemingly bad things in the report. You take some credit and then also some work directive out of the
Mm,
report as well.
yeah.
How about you? Why'd
Yeah.
you stick with
Why
these
did
and
I stick
what
with
was your
them?
fascination and
Well, yeah, my first report, I was 21. I had just turned 21. And there was a friend of a friend who took a liking to me and like was very curious about possibly we've in her mind it was like, well, we've had to have had a past life together. And at that time I had not really been familiar with that term. So she knew of the school of metaphysics that was doing the reports at the time. And so she said, you want to do it? So out of my curiosity, sure, don't know what we're going into, but why not? And I remember hearing it, seeing it done. I mean, that was another, the visual element of having
oh
the
yeah.
reporter and the conductor right in front of you. Um, it was, I remember thinking to myself, wow, there's something that resonated that had an element of this is not lying.
Hmm.
There's it's not a charade. It's not a someone's not just,
Parlor trick or
there's
something.
nothing about that showed I used to call it the wooby doobies or the,
Yeah.
nothing like that was a part of it. And so yeah, I resonated with it in terms of there's something here that is worth investigating.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of started my launch. And it was so interesting because I remember the report that we received. We were the past life was we were sisters. She was older, I was younger, and she had a little bit more control of how she wanted to dictate my life. And we should go here. And I always had this curiosity of a mind, again, a creative person. And it's like, yeah, I'm ready to not follow you anymore. And so that was, it was a short lived friendship. Um, and now I know why. But I went in another course, and the reason I stuck with it is um, there's something I'm always looking for, I'm always listening for something that resonates as honesty and healing that comes in the form of being a helpful tool, a helpful aid.
Hmm. Mhm.
Number one. And number two, also because of I'm intrigued with the world of mystique, esoteric. I mean, I'm just
The
intrigued with
mystic mysteries of creation.
anything,
Yeah.
anything, anything that's connected to creation and creating.
Yeah.
And third, I always had the desire to learn and grow. Always. So those three things, I knew that I could always get a clarity of insight that I couldn't get from anyone else. I couldn't get it from, I could get glimpses of it, but there's a clarity that comes through in these reports. And I knew that the more I kept doing my job, my part to self-examine, to grow, to self-correct, uh, whatever, all of those things, I always also trusted that that process would continue to open me up to other realms of that world of the mystery of creation.
Hmm.
So the reports always, it was almost like I always had a really good, super, 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 super good best friend in combination with a really good parent that was always looking out for me to say,
Yeah.
you pay attention, you know, these
Yeah.
are the great things you're doing. These are some really good things about you. However, don't be a knucklehead. These are some things that if you could get over yourself on it, kind of
Yeah.
face it, change the
I
course of
had a
this.
very similar experience with like how I mentally classified reports, and it was oh yeah, it wasn't like a parent voice. It was more like this is a third person, a third party person who has no vested interest in what I am doing in my life. I've never met this person, and yet they give these suggestions and advice and ideas with no stake in what I do with it. Completely
Mm-hmm.
unopinionated guidance and suggestions and insight. And I thought that was just fascinating
Yeah.
that I could get this completely unbiased. Here you go, take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something for you to work with or chew on for a little while.
Interesting, because I would interpret that for me, it really was an intimacy for me. There was
See,
an intimate.
there's that warmth and love and nurturing and intimacy again. And for me, it was just the pure science of like, wow, this is so far removed from any
Oh,
intimacy
well,
at all. This is
you're,
great.
you're too funny. That's hilarious. No, it really was for me. It was. It was like,
I'm getting self-conscious about
well,
it.
no, I think both of us are saying the same thing. Obviously, we experience it in a different way. But the reason I use the word intimacy is, um, I don't know. I always think about this is probably just the teacher in me. It's there's an element of love that comes through in these reports,
All right, I'll give you that. Sure.
right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
that quality
Yeah,
of
there is.
love for me has an intimate, like I really deeply care about your growth, but caring does not mean that I'm controlling it. You have to do
Right.
what I say.
Yeah.
It's like I really,
It's like a really high level love
a
or
high level.
benevolence, maybe.
There you go.
Benevolence. Yeah.
Benevolence is another good word.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, Paul, you said the word scientist. There was also that other part of me that I have always felt that my life was part creator, part scientist. And for me, sometimes those things are one and the same.
Hmm. Yeah.
In this, yeah, because
Like the
it's
science of creating. Right.
mhm,
Yeah.
or just the science of um, how to use reasoning when you're trying to change something,
Yeah. Or how to
or
use
how to
visualization
use visualization.
properly. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I scientists that are listening, please keep listening because I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. It's just
Adds to.
adds to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, both of those elements were really important, and they still are. They still
Oh,
are.
so here's something. I was taking my morning walk along this really cool trail that we have in back of our house, and listening to one of the Richard Rudd's Gene Key's Pathways meditations, and it
Okay.
was the Path of Initiative, I believe it's called,
Mhm.
Initiation or Path of Initiative, I think, and it was really good. It was the guy's brilliant. He's just astoundingly brilliant. Anyway, I'm listening to it, and
And I
there's
love his voice.
oh yeah, yeah. I
Love
won't
the voice.
I won't do it justice by
Yeah.
imitating it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of the part of this pathway meditation, he came to a place where he said, "What do you love?" The question was, let this really deeply resonate inside of you. What do you love? Like, what do you love doing? What do you love giving to the world? What do you love? And it just resonated just long enough in me that up came an answer. And it was, I really love teaching and guiding people, individuals, in uh, steps of creating, like steps of creating a better life for themselves, or steps of creating an understanding, or steps. I love steps, and I like planning, and breaking things apart into
Yeah.
components and
Right.
then presenting these components. And I thought, and that got me really excited. Like, wow, I think I'm in the right business. I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing, and I
Yeah.
do it well, and I'm well recognized for it. It's like, wow, this is so cool. And then I flashed immediately back to an intuitive report
Huh.
way back in the beginning when I had a health analysis, and I asked on the report, what is my spiritual duty? Just a big, broad question like that. What is
Right.
my spiritual duty? And the answer was to teach.
Mm.
And that just hung in the air for a moment. And I
Yeah.
said, to teach what? And it said, to teach the steps of creation.
Mm. Mm.
And that was another pivot point for me,
Mm.
because I was not teaching at that point. I had not even considered teaching at that point. But that went deeply inside of me
Mm.
and just stuck there. And I started making decisions to go ahead and start teaching classes and try to become a better teacher. And then
Mm.
bit by bit, I started realizing, ooh, I like this. This
Mm.
is this is really reaching down into my soul
Mm-hmm.
to be a teacher and to teach the steps of creation better and better. And the more I turned towards that, the better things got in my life. So I think that was a hugely important moment. Just two little sentences, not even sentences, two little comments from an intuitive report
Mm-hmm.
that changed my trajectory and led me into teaching and loving teaching, and I think building a whole new set of understandings that I have now to keep as my own.
Well, I think this kind of doubles with the question I asked earlier about why continue with the reports? Um, why did you gravitate toward it? But I do think that people who stay with these reports or they use them, whatever path of career, let's say they've chosen to take, my guess is that most of them have some qualities of service, teaching, and leadership. Something, I think
Hmm.
those three are probably always going to be there
Yeah.
in connection to moving this needle around
Yeah.
the energies
Some
of the.
kind of concern for other human beings
Mm-hmm.
is, yeah, I would say so too. Yeah. If you're really self-consumed and really into success in the material world, you tend to not really resonate as much with these reports. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you don't really see that much use in them or validity in them.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, maybe it's just not this lifetime that you're meant to be introspective and learn about these interior realms. Maybe this lifetime is just a lifetime to
Right.
put in place outer responsibilities and take care
That's
of
right.
things that maybe you put those off in other lifetimes.
Right.
And this lifetime, I need to work on how to work with money in this
Mm-hmm.
lifetime and be responsible for my self-care and
Right.
care of this body. That's great. Um, we really don't know, you
Yeah,
really don't know about other people
that's right.
until you really start cracking the code with these intuitive reports and looking
Yeah.
inside and seeing.
And both you and I agree on this one that whether you're have a lifetime that's more devotional, um, esoteric, religious, whatever path that is, or if you have a life that's more materially grounded, physically grounded. My belief, I think you believe this, is that all of those are still grounded at the deep, 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 deep core that has to do with the bigger picture of creation and light,
Yeah.
source, love, whatever that is.
Yeah, we've talked about this
Mhm.
before of everything ultimately is a spiritual
Mhm.
issue. It's a spiritual practice, it's a spiritual devotional. Whether you're making a ton of money, and that's a spiritual practice
Mhm.
because you are a spiritual being and working in this world. So all of it is part of it, part of the adventure.
In 2013, Paul, I did receive a healing and wholeness report. And this one also was a big marker for me in my life. Talk about getting a girl pat on the back, for some of the things that I've been working on. But in 2013, I received one that said, there's an ocean of wisdom that expresses his gentleness.
Hmm.
Didn't even know what that meant, but I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. All I could key in on was the word gentleness. As long as I'm being gentle, that I'm expressing
I'll
it
take it. I'll
gently.
take it. Yeah.
That I had a strong sense of connection with living beings, and I had a strong urge to bring to life the originality of being that can be expressed in ways that can connect with other people. It also said that I had a loving attitude that tends to lean toward interactions with others, causing there to be a catalyst of awakening, not only within others, but within the self. Uh, this talked, because you mentioned what your greatest love was. This one said is focused on the sense of artistry that is this one's greatest love. Like the
Hmm.
thing I really love, it's artistry. And again, when I hear that word, it's not just making things.
Yeah.
It's any form of expression that is moving the stuff from the inner to the outer,
Yeah. Dancing with the creative forces.
dancing with it. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
lovely for me. And that capacity to bring this forth within other people, it's subtle and ever present. And that when I'm not thinking about it, when I'm just doing it, it's palpable in
Hmm.
myself and other people. And it leaves an impression that other people remember. And we see that as a result, there is a reaching toward this unification of the self with other people. It's a state of egolessness in this one that there is not the importance of what comes back to the self. It is a kind of unconditional urge that is met through this type of giving.
Hmm.
And also gave me some anchors. Like the seed thought that I should pay attention to was allowance, and that the action that would follow that would be undivided attention. And that was that was probably my homework for years, because I don't think I even received another report until like almost 10 years later.
Hmm.
I thought this has given me a lot to
That's
work with,
plenty to work with there. Yeah.
plenty to work with.
Yeah.
And again, speaking of the life journey, I really did devoted a lot of my time in whatever career that I had in education, but in leadership and in teaching. That was always at the anchor for me to understand what that meant so that again, it's one thing to hear it in a report, and it's another thing to, what does that really mean to me now? I
Hmm.
think that's another process of integrating what's in this intuitive report so it has another meaning in my present time period.
Yeah.
That was a turning point for me.
Yeah. What I hear in that is your, and in other reports I've heard of yours as well, as this intimate involvement with other people and and commitment to helping, serving, guiding, bettering other people's lives in so many various ways that you've done in other lifetimes. And I started thinking about episodes that are coming up
Oh,
for us
yes.
because we're going to
Yes.
keep doing this, right?
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so we want to invite a third person or um, you know, another guest on this
Mm,
show, and we want to investigate intuitive research as other people have experienced it as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
And then some other themes as well.
Mhm.
Um, but all of them tying back into service for the greater good,
Right.
um, expansion of knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and keep on touching back to this quantum research, this intuitive research. I think that when we talked off camera or off mic about this several times, we both felt like, yeah, we want to keep this as our core, exploring the mysteries of creation, yes, and also keeping it practical, not diving off into the deep end of conspiracies and whatnot, but like making intuitive research and intuitive knowledge a practical presence in people's lives so that they have a new tool and a new realm that they can tap into for whatever they want to create in their
Yeah,
life.
exactly. I think as I'm intrigued that humanity is in a big change time period. Like it's going through another transition.
Hmm.
And when I say humanity, what makes up humanity? Individuals.
Yeah.
And every single one of us, uh, whether you know it or not, you're yearning for something to deeply be connected to, and that is yourself and something greater than you.
Yeah.
And these intuitive reports, I I believe, will serve as a shining light, like another beacon of helping to aid this transition so that individuals can then aid in the transition that we're all going through. And that's the type of conversations I hope we delve into, of no matter what your walk of life is, what your discipline, what your interest is. I don't care. Every single one of those things matter to the collective change that we are embarking on. And the more we can reach into the wholeness. I know in one of the intuitive reports, it said, any further suggestions, for this one's soul growth and spiritual development. And it said, this one has what this one needs. That's true for every
Yeah.
single one of us. This one has what this one needs. But I want to hear how all of us are sharing that, whether you choose to raise children and be a parent, a mother, a father, a doctor, a medical, it doesn't matter. But if you're devoted to diving deeper into your own life for the betterment of someone else, I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
I want to hear it because other people want to hear it too.
I'm fascinated with practical mysticism, I like to
Mm-hmm.
call it.
Mm-hmm.
The use of mysticism and esoteric knowledge in a practical way in this world, and where you bridge the two worlds together, that figure eight that we've talked about,
Right.
of the upper world and the lower world and everything in between.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I, before we say goodbye, I wanted to share one other experience that I had. I was listening to a doctor. His name is Dr. I think it's Jack Cruz, Kruse.
Okay.
He makes me laugh. He's such a, like, he's talk about a passionate man. He's a neurosurgeon, but he had this great insight, and he's got a scientific brain. So he uses words that are definitely out of my vocabulary. But I love that he's talking about and our evolutionary origins, that all of us have, like, light is a big part of our story. And as I was listening to him, and I will still listen to him, I think that's an example of whatever discipline you need, I would like different people that are so passionate about whatever they do. They speak in a language that other people like them can understand it. They may not
Yeah.
understand it or hear it in the way that I'm going to say it or you say it. But we need people in their own disciplines and domain to follow that stream of light and share with us what you know in the way that you are seeing it. That's an invitation. So,
I'll say it is. Yeah. We're
great.
going to get a lot of mail from that.
That's right.
Very cool.
Paul, thanks for sharing you with me and everyone else.
Yes. And thank you for just being you. Your warm, compassionate, loving. I'm working on it.
Oh, you're
I'll get
welcome.
it. I'll get
Wah,
it.
wah, wah.
Yeah.
Okay, see you next episode.
Once Upon a Quantum Leap is for your reference only. This podcast and the material is intended solely as educational information and should not be used for diagnosis or treatment of any health problem, financial, or legal advice.
You can listen to full episodes and find out about Paul and Capucine at onceuponaquantumleap.com. All reports shared on this show have been released with permission, and identifiers have been removed for individuals' privacy.
The Intuitive reports referred to in each episode are available on our website, on the podcast page, and through links in our show notes. We encourage you to listen to those for greater context.
If you're interested in obtaining your own intuitive report, go to quantuminsight.co. That's quantuminsight.co. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.